keep it 1,000, keep it 1,000, keep it a stack, keep it a stack. We kill 1,000, kill 1,000. It's deeper than rap, it's deeper than rap. It's the Keep It 1,000 podcast. It do not stop. It's the Keep It 1,000 podcast. It do not stop with me.
This is the Keep It 1,000 podcast, where we gonna keep it all the way a stack. And I'm your host, Kill1000. And as you can see, it do not stop. It do not stop with me. And I got a special guest in the building, man. Former member of the concentration camp with C-loc on C-loc Records.
Absolutely.
Teamed up with Master P for your How You Do That There remix.
Yeah, that's it.
Lyricist. When you hear that voice, you already know. Who that say they want to do that?
Salute, my brother.
I'm talking about the legendary Young Bleed in the building, man. What's up?
Absolutely, man. Salute, true soldier, man. Appreciate you having me through, man. But, doing this thing we do, keeping it going,
Glad to have you on the show, man. We're going to get right into it.
Happy to be on, bro. Yes, sir.
So, Baton Rouge native. What part of Baton Rouge you grew up in, man?
The bottom, man. The South Side, man. South Side Wrecking Crew, man. That part, yeah. Bottom boy belly, man. Always. Born and raised.
So how was it coming up in the South back in the G, man? Take us back in the G.
Man, you got to put on the Superfly move or the Mac or some shit like that, man. I'm a 70s baby, man. I'm born in 74. So that whole evolution of coming out the 60s, fresh into the 70s, and the remnants of all the past and coming into our evolution. So, you had that family, dysfunctional family, you know what I mean? Ghetto hood, street sense, all that was a combination of what I would combine to be in time based on my come up in my surroundings, trying to do something different and reach for bigger and better and farther heights, you know what I mean? But yeah, just like anything else, ghetto to ghetto, man, the same drug dealing, prostitution, you name it, everything under the sun was going down in the neighborhood, you hear?
Right. Who did you grow up listening to? As far as music coming up?
A little bit of everybody, and I was young, not just rap music, keeping in mind being born when I was born, hip hop was evolving. You see what I'm saying? So, beat to the date, I started when I was in the 4th grade at 9 years old in 1983. Being this year, 2023, it's exactly 40 years I've been on that pen. You see what I'm saying? 25 plus years in the industry, but 40 years on that pen, man. You know what I'm saying? So, my music evolution will start with my family. My granddaddy played a blues piano. He had a harmonica partner named Harmonica Moles, and they played the fish fries and stuff like that on Fridays. My grandmother cooking different things like that, card games and stuff like that. But a little bit before my time, so I really knew my granddaddy from 74 to about 84, 85. He passed a really 10-year span. And somewhere along the way, he went blind, you know what I mean? So he never made records, you know what I mean? Everybody in the family pretty much was talented. My mother, her sisters, and my grandmother was like the president of Sweet Home Baptist Church choir. Started singing the choir young. I was in the opera when I might have been 7, 8 years old at the Baton Rouge Little Theater out here, opera called Carmen, the world famous opera Carmen. So different aspects of music. I had an uncle that played all African-centric instruments, mainly the drums, congos, bongos, and a whole set, African piano, finger piano, oboe, and different things like that. So he passed me really his rudiments when I was still in the womb. My mother said he used to play the drums, with him playing the drums all the time, more or less. I could hear that from the inside when I was still inside. So I flip and do different things to run my mother crazy before I can get into the world. While still in the embryo, she read me Dr. Seuss, you know what I mean? But by the time I was born, about 8 months to a year, I could read Dr. Seuss. You see what I'm saying? And when you define rap, R-A-P, rhythm and poetry, I was born this way. So I grew into that, but didn't know what my glitch would be till 1983. So all forms of music, I was tampering the instruments around the crib. vocals, you name it. You know what I mean? My granddaddy made me play the blues over and over. My grandmother was gospel, so I had that perfect diversion between, other than African music, straight out of Africa, and what might have been in the Caribbean, but gospel, and Mississippi being the birthplace of the blues, New Orleans, Louisiana, jazz, all that was kind of in my gumbo pack. So eventually, like I say, by 83, I come into, after hearing the hip hoppers in New York, and just was like, okay, that's my thing. You know, I had a poetry teacher that came around the 4th grade. Not my personal poetry teacher, but she went to all the elementary school and spent about an hour, however long she spent teaching us poems and how to write poems and different stuff like that. So my aunts and uncles, they and my mother, they did poetry and stuff like that. So I read they bits and pieces, and eventually would learn my penmanship here again around that time. But the poetry teacher, she had a this pamphlet or this little small poetry book, no bigger than this or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
That she went to all the elementary schools and picked like the best poem or the best kids that, you know, wrote the best poetry. And my poetry actually made it to that book, and it reached our state capitol. That book used to be in our state capitals in the 80s. So yeah, if I could reach our state capitol at 9 years old, and no telling what I could do future-wise.
Right.
So with that being said, Run DMC had made their first self-titled LP and, you know, tape, you know, whatever the time before the CD evolution. But I had my mother bought me that tape, you know, and I was a Run DMC fan, you know, off the rip as well as everybody else. But she bought me that tape around that time, man. It was a song other than, you know, Rock Box used to be my favorite song in the world, you know, first MTV raps, you know what I mean? When black folks wasn't on TV other than Michael Jackson and Prince, Run DMC was the first rappers. If not, you know, I'm sure they showed the Sugar Hill Gang before just that takeoff with rap music. There was a song on that tape called Wake Up that wasn't a radio commercial song that I loved more than anything because they talked about having this dream about changing their environment and community. You know what I mean? Like if Curtis Blow did, If I Ruled the World, this had to be a Nas later. But Run them was the first ones that I heard, you know, say when I woke up this morning and got out of my bed, I had some really fresh stuff going through my head. It was a dream that I had about, you know, changing this, all the bad things turning into good. So that inspired me to recreate that rhyme in a poetical way and talk about my environment, South Baton Rouge, and what was going on. And if I had the choice in the matter, I would do the same thing. So that set me off into a frenzy, and, you know, it's been like that ever since. Yeah.
So you've been kind of like groomed since a seed for music. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So when did you gravitate towards like writing raps and recording rap songs?
On the elementary school yard, I didn't know how to write it. I could just go off the dome without writing.
Freestyle.
Right. But once I learned how to grab my pen and craft patterns and styles and techniques, you know what I mean? Somewhere around 9 years old, I wouldn't record till 85, 2 years later. You know, rest in peace to Tommy Jefferson out here in Baton Rouge, you know what I mean? One of the guys that had a home studio.
Right, that was right there in my hood. I didn't record it in that bitch before too.
Yeah, I forget you from Glen Oaks, man. So yeah, big Glen Oaks. My real name is Glenn. I got cousins out there, so minus the flex and shit in the city, I was in all the hoods. You know what I'm saying? I had family in all the hoods.
Man, so, it's all Baton Rouge with me.
Yeah, it's all Baton Rouge. But saying I can say this, a homeboy of the 16th, 17th Street projects in the top of South Baton Rouge was a homeboy by the name of Black, but he was about me and your color with some hazel eyes. I still don't know to this day why they call him Black. But Black will see me through the projects, walk through with my cousins and all that type of thing. I stayed in the bottom. My great grandmother moved from the bottom to the top. So in the summertime, I would go stay out there, you know what I mean, with those people. So I grew both ways, the bottom and the top, you know what I'm saying? And then eventually other parts of the city, Gardner Lane, the Mayfair area, you know what I mean? So that was my pretty much stomping grounds, and everything else I stayed weekends and summers and stuff like that with grandmothers and family. But Black, he'll see me going through the projects one here like this, like I was mixing, you know, and all that. I was DJing young, you know, and shouts out to a lot of my DJ homeboys, in particular DJ AB, rest in peace, was my first DJ about 11 years old. But saying that to say this, Black I see, man, you know, tell my cousin, hey man, what's wrong with your little cousin, man? He retarded or something? Say, nah, he just hit music time. You know what I'm saying? He hit some shit in his head while we walking to the corner store, 5, 7 guys. So Black say, bro, you really, you know, you serious about this music? I say, yeah. He said, well, I know a guy by the name of Thomas Jefferson in Glen Oaks. You go out here, blase, blase out. I told that to my mom, so about 11. She took me to my first session, paid the first $20. He used to charge $20 an hour way back then.
Yeah.
So paid him like $20 for 7 hours. I owe him for to this day, rest in peace. He never tripped, and he became good friends and family to my family. And if I needed help, aid at talent shows, what have we, bring his, you know, PAs and all that type of thing. So I ran under Tommy for years, just learning how to record and mold my craft, starting in his studio in Glen Oaks, man. So yeah, true story.
Man, that's crazy. So you eventually met CeeLo.
Yeah.
How did that situation come about? And how did you meet CeeLo?
Let the story or the truth be told, we from the same neighborhood, South Baton Rouge at the bottom, but I didn't know Lo when I was still living in South Baton Rouge. You see what I'm saying? 85, we moved to Mayfair, you know what I mean? So I tell people I grew up twice, you know what I mean? I grew on the South and I grew up on the east side of Mayfair, you know, shouts out to the north side. But we would link somewhere around the 6th and 7th grade. I met him, you know what I mean? Out of all the people I knew in South Baton Rouge come up with, you know, from the dirt bricks with, I didn't know him on the street turf. We met in middle school, then we linked up. He had a dream to be a DJ. So after talking and all that, you could see my freestyle battles at school, you know, so it was the thing around the school that he was my DJ. But he never had turntables, we never did a talent show, we never recorded. You know what I mean? But he was most like my big brother, homeboy, streetwise and otherwise. We had a problem in the streets, and if he got the news before I could tell it to him, he gonna already, you know, confrontate you. So we developed that type of brotherly bond and kept our dreams going. And somewhere going into high school, I went to a different high school. You see what I'm saying? I went to Woodland High, and later on, I moved back to South Baton Rouge, went to McKinley, like my, 12th grade year. But Lo, I forget what high school he went to, and somewhere around my middle teens, 15, 16 years old, like I say, I'm back in the neighborhood, and I'm on the other side of the game, you know what I mean, the street game. So we doing our things, so we are running to each other and the bricks and shit like that. I was selling tapes on the corner about 16 or something. Man, my first song on the radio about 16 or 17, WXOK, rest in peace to Ernest and Night Prince, you know what I mean, and those guys. So they put me on as a teenager. And somewhere around 93, 94, I was selling tapes probably about 91 or something like that, still trying to get a break. But Lo came to me and approached me and asked was I still doing my thing, come to my crib in the hood. And I was like, yeah, what's happening? He said, well, I'm working on something. I got a label, the whole nine, So he take me by the crib, let me hear Who Was Gonna Ride for the first time. And it was pretty much complete. But he wanted to add another song to it. They made the track him in Lead Time in particular, or the Count, and C-loc records. That track would turn out to be Never Say Die. You see what I'm saying? Off the C-loc Who's Gonna Ride record. I ghost wrote the whole song. We performed it, and dude just going back and forth in Tommy's spot, because he recorded that at Tommy's. You know what I mean? Real to real back then.
So that Never Say Die, you say you ghost wrote it?
Yeah, I ghost wrote the whole song. Yeah.
Damn.
All 3 parts. So that was my contribution coming in to C-loc records. He also had the song No Mercy, and he was playing that in the studio, and I liked it, so I walk off and, just in my, getting into my rudiment. I was freestyling. It's wicked when I kick it, wicked, you don't hear me at all.
When I kick it, yeah.
Mumbling that. He said, man, what's that you? So I started saying that to him. He said, I'll put that on the record. So that, became the background basis of that hook. So on that album in particular, I was on 2 records, Never Say Die and the hook of No Mercy. Then later on, we'll go off to do Killer Instinct and so on and so forth. By the time he would do the whatever record, he brought me more into play. And eventually the camp was birthed, going into that. And I'm not trying to go past your questions and tell the whole story, but as far as that's me and Lo beginning, you know what I mean?
Okay, so eventually you drop the hit, you know, not saying you ain't have hits before, but you know, the standout, the how you do that there.
So,
How did that song come about? The original one. Then we'll get into the Master P remix.
okay, well, actually, I didn't start a solo artist. Shouts out to my brother Darian Williams, not my real brother, but the street brother. We grew up on the same Garfield Street or G Street, the world know now. We coined the term. Shout out to my brother Carlos Tucker T off of Garfield Street. We grew up right across the street from each other since birth. You see what I'm saying? Those guys was about a year or so older than me. But they was my big street brother since the dirt and mud in the alleyways and mud pies and shooting marbles, you know what I mean? The elementary school was in the backyard, so all of us would walk to school together. But so naturally, me and Darian started out mimicking Run DMC. You see what I'm saying? We had a group we took from one of the leaders of the a South Baton Rouge street gang, the South Baton Rouge street gang at the time. Top of the food chain was the Wrecking Crew. You know, when you see the four South Side Wrecking Crew or the four horsemen, you know, mine is the names, but Sugar Slim was one of those horsemen, a big cousin of mine. And we
Yeah,
had mine.
I interviewed Silver Slim too. Shout out to him.
Okay, well, you know what it is from the city. You know, you one of the OGs and kingpin gangsters from the South, you know, big boy. So in our neighborhood, that's what we had to look up to. You know, my granddad and my papas and Silver Slim, uncles and Silver Slim. So what we did was take his name and break it in half. I always been a slender guy, so I ran with the Slim, you know, naturally. And my partner Darian, he was a little stockier than me, so he went with Silk. So we were Silk and Slim was our first group. Okay, so somewhere in middle school, we parted ways. We still best brothers to this day. He was just by the crib, you know, a few days back. What led me to being a solo artist, you know, talking about separating from my guy Darian Williams, and I continue to pursue the dream. I was always working on when I did get a big break, you know what I mean? I always had my solo shit that I worked on since a child and templates for 10, 20 albums at a time, or back to back. Once I get on, then I'm gonna start from here and just continue my chapters. And that's just what I did. So that was the song that I was working on personally. And naturally, you know, the evolution. It was by myself in the beginning. But as we was evolving and time evolving, the camp was morphing. After whatever, somewhere along the times of making whatever, other guys would come around, in particular, Laylo, Max Manella, J. Vaughn, Happy, Perez, my brother Lucky Knuckles, Raw Nitty, Boo Racini. We started, you know, to bulk out, you know, in that sense of the word. So I went to local, and, you know, and the other guys, originally the camp was me, Max Manella, J. Vaughn, Happy Perez, my brother Lucky Knuckles, my DJ Ballet, and a guy by the name of Savage Sosa, which was Max Manelli's cousin. That's how I met him, you know, when he was a kid. It was cousin because we went to school together. So I took that idea to Low, and he was like, yeah, that made perfect sense. And at that time, New York was coming back, Wu-Tang was forming, the boot camp clique. We had a boot camp clique in New Orleans, but Mystical and all those guys, Fiend, shouts out to Big Boy Records at the time. Before Cash Money and No Limit, or at least before I knew about them, you know what I mean?
Right.
So in that effort, just preparing myself for whatever may take place, I was already behind the scenes really working on Balls in My Word. And really before then, saying to say this, within the whatever time, we finished that record and we wanted to eventually put together a compilation to give everybody a shot to stick out other than being background vocal for CeeLo. So that was my solo effort in the contribution to that Clickalation album, the self-titled Concentration Camp album. So that's how that started. You see what I'm saying? And eventually, you know, we released it. The world know it to be 25 years old. But for me, that's like 27, because that was somewhere like 96 when we put it on the camp. The camp didn't get as world famous as No Limit was at the time. And the platform P had, you see what I'm saying? So that combination, business deal made the perfect sense for everybody at the time. And eventually, like you mentioned, we did a remix for it that became worldwide phenomenal, but it was already taken off for the South and the Southern region at times, you know, that particular record. But that's the beginning and the basis of it.
So who made that track?
Me and Happy Perez, as a matter of fact. But see, I never took producer credit. I'm still learning the rules to the game and really just wanted to get on as a rapper and a writer, made sure that was protected and copyrighted, so on and so forth, and wanted to see him get on as a producer. He was a phenomenal producer by himself, but we combined our forces. And the first time, but really before, behind the scenes, you know, he did a lot of things for Max and all those guys. We had mixtapes and shit that never came out, freestyle session that's, you know what I mean, 72 minutes of tape and CD eventually, you know what I mean, to the max, flip the tape over and keep record, that type of chemistry. But yeah, me and Happy Perez originally produced it. And once they took it to Beats by the Pound, then they enhanced it a little bit more to make it a little bit more commercial, you know, friendly and so on and so forth. But yeah, you know, a few hands, but the artist is me and Happy Perez. Me originally and Happy Perez. Yeah.
What was that energy like in the studio? You look around, you got C-loc over here, you got Max Manelli over here, you got J-Vod over here, you know, later on Boosie came, like all these great rappers. What's that energy like when all y'all in the studio?
Like you say, later on, Boo will come along, but I had left the camp by that time. Same but different. Yeah. I was the founder of the camp, bringing the idea, you know, having the mental genius, you know what I mean? The divine inspiration that God gave to me that I passed on to everybody else, you know, as well as a lot of stuff I was passing on. But saying to say this, yeah, phenomenal. You know what I mean? Everything, when we all showed up, it was Voltron. You know what I'm saying? Everybody had their own individuality, but together, you know, it's like your finger fist. It was a powerful fist. Any door you went to, chamber, anybody you see us, streetwise and otherwise, you know, tell a cop, you know, on the streets and on that microphone. And that's how we marked as a family and as a clique. So with that type of inspiration around, you can't help but be inspired. So that's how a lot of those records was coming out fast. You know, it's one thing when you're a solo artist and you writing 11, 13 hour-minute songs, and at the time, 3 and 4 verses. If you don't have a quick work ethic, that could take a year to a record. You see what I'm saying? Depending on the individual. But with us, it was, hey man, I already did this record before you got here. Just go put 16 on there. Go put 20, you know what I mean? Go put 12, the hook. So with that many talented people around, it was nothing to do songs. And more than one producer, more than one MC, and DJs for that matter. So, you know, that whole hip-hop gumbo pot forced to soften us in Baton Rouge, you know what I mean? Once it started to take off, that inspired us to continue to get the people more. So yeah, it was phenomenal.
Right. So how you do that there is taking off regionally, you know what I'm saying? And you end up doing a remix with P.
Yeah.
Master P. How did that situation come about, man?
Well, with him and Loc being the two CEOs of the company, other than what was taking place in the studio, you know, naturally we had to connect and go to the same places between New Orleans and Baton Rouge. So somewhere along the lines, they met each other and started talking about diversifying, you know, us as cliques and so on and so forth. And that just was the evolution at the time. That was happening right when P was kind of coming back from California, Richmond, and that type of thing, and reinstating himself in the South, doing the body move and all that felt in that chronological order. And I just had the right thing at the right time that grabbed his attention. So he was interested in that. Of course, him and Loc talked about it. Loc presented the proposition to me, and that proposition was taking a chance going out to California, doing the video, you know what I mean, and releasing that record on the Body soundtrack. And, you know, everything else just, you know, went bananas after that, but, you know, pretty much like that. One step, you know, 2-step program, and everything led to what it is today, yeah, based on the movie.
So when you drop the album, My Balls and My Word, was that signed to No Limit, or what was that situation?
Well, the truth be told, now we can talk about it, I guess. I never really officially signed to No Limit. P got me my deal at Priority Records. So a lot like Ice Cube leaving in WA, I went straight from C-loc Records in the concentration camp, you know what I mean, /No Limit to the Priority camp. You see what I'm saying? So I became a solo official artist at Priority Records by myself. Loc got a distribution deal, and I think Maximum was offered a deal, but they wasn't cool with their situation. So I, you know, took the deal I had and ran with it. until, of course, Priority folded in the recording of my third project. I was scheduled to do 7-hour albums on with Priority Records, but I never officially signed to No Limit. But with that stamp and our family orientation, naturally the world will think that, you know, big up No Limit.
That's how that go. So you had the follow-up album to My Balls and My Word on my own.
Yeah.
What was it like collaborating with the West Coast artists, Daz and Too Short?
Oh man,
you know what I'm saying?
Short was already coming back and forth down here, and I want to say he got some people between here and maybe Mississippi or something like that. So you know he'll come home. He'll go to the Bayou Classics or whatever was popping in New Orleans.
Oh, he used to go to the Bayou Classic? Damn.
Oh yeah. You know, never went inside the game, but just running with my guys. We'll be in the streets doing some other shit. But a guy like Too Short to be on one of them street corners. You know what I'm saying? Just hanging. I hear that. I never ran into him down there, but all my partners say, man, that nigga Short a cool nigga just on the telephone pole or wherever, just chilling. Yeah. So, you know, I always admired and looked up to Short, being one of the true pioneers of the West Coast, and definitely with a whole lot of OG game, man, beyond the pimping. So, Short actually came down here, and I had a chance to meet the Notorious Big this night. I really wasn't. I was just getting hip to Big.
Come on.
But my cousin them had a promotion company called Fire and Ice, where they brought us out. They did this show at the Centralplex down here, and you know how big we was in the city at the time. You know, it was but an understatement that Too Short and Big was opening up for us. Short came to that show, but I don't think they had the rest of Big money or whatever. I think Big came down here to the Embassy Suites. Cousin them took off and said, we're going to, you know, go straighten out this guy. And they came back and he wasn't with them. And I got his name then, but I wasn't really, you know, I didn't know about Big pretty much, you know, slightly offended. So I didn't get a chance to meet Big, but Short was there. Mm-hmm. So Short, like when the back parking lot, and I can say it to you, vivid, of the Centralplex, we about one car, about 20 or so deep, Short a few cars away with his guy, about 10, 20 deep, or whatever the case, man, you know, however they was rolling. And I just stand like, that's Too Short, man. You know, I always wanted to rock the Centralplex as a kid. But it was that night, you know what I'm saying? The first and only time I performed in the Centralplex, but us as the camp, you know what I mean? All of us as a whole. So that was a beautiful night. And by the time I went to Priority and was working on a deal over this weekend, you know, Ann Banks and a whole lot of guys used to be on Priority. JT, the bigger figure, Rise guys, Brother Lynch, all of us was Priority artists or some type of Priority collaborated artists, if I could say it like that, at the time. So we come from downstairs, Ann Banks in one room, everybody, you know, had their sections where everybody was working at. And we go outstairs to think, you know, we finna sign this deal or not. Me and Mom, shouts out to Uncle Paulie, you know what I mean? He was the manager of the camp and Corleone family, so on and so forth in the future. We're still brothers to this day, but we come down off the roof of the CNN building, with a parking lot part, the roof part of the parking lot. So we come down and finally finna go back in and sign a deal. Before we could walk in, we see this one guy, as cool as they said he always was in New Orleans, leaning up against the wall outside before you go in. And it's Too Short. And this time, you know, he by his, I'm with one guy. So I said, man, that's Too Short. He said, sure live. What's up, OG? What was happening? We spoke. And we walked out. So, you know, that time, I'm a kid in the candy store. You know what I mean? I just had come from upstairs, saw all the plaques from the Chronic to even Jay-Z, Reasonable Doubt, NWA Records, and whoever Priority had went gold and platinum with when you first walked in.
Right.
Was on it's official. So I'm happy, you know what I mean? And we getting that, walk in the building, go get in the elevator, and I'm telling Paul, man, that's Short, man, shit real. Well, I know it. The elevator closed, and I saw some fingers grab the elevator and slide it open. It was Short. Short jumped in. His first word to me was, what's up, OG? I say, shit, you the OG, I'm 22 years old. And he say, Bleed, you supposed to be in California. This way you supposed to be. I'm from the South or something too. You know what I mean at that time. So I started to learn a whole lot of shit about the West. Was saying a lamb that was sent to slaughter. This, you got to keep in mind. I signed 3 months after the murder of B. right around the corner. Shouts out to Dave Weiner from Broadwater at the time. He eventually became vice president at Strain to Tech Nine, them guys over years. But he was like my personal tour guide. You know, he and them set it up. But when I flew down there, Dave picked me up in the SS Impala, 96 Impala or something at the time. And we rode and we had to pass up Rodeo and all that from LAX. We stopped, I guess, at Winchester, whatever that street is that Big was murdered on. We right at the red light. We driving this way and Big was coming this way. He said right there where Big was killed. So for a while, I didn't smoke weed, drank, or do shit in California. All that was atmosphere. 6 months after the death of Pop, 3 months after the death of Big, I'm in California in the summer of 97, June 97 to be exact. So,
damn.
Yeah, so, you know, a whole lot of that. I had my paranoia, but my level of excitement at the same time. So I'm, you know, my brain is flipping. I'm, you know, outside I look subtle, calm to anybody, but this, my life dream into fruition. You know what I mean? So a guy like that happened, and it was like everything, all the green lights was there to go here. Everything and the people that you look up to and, you know, wanted to be like, they all here, or at least a portion of it, or it's the West Coast. So the West Coast embraced me. From Too Short to Daz to Snoop them to Ice Cube, you know, and Ice Cube was still on Broad, and Mac 10, all of them became my bros over years, and just, you know, gave me a whole lot of game. You know what I mean? Shouts out to Silk the Shopper. Silk, I think Silk was a year or so younger than me, but he aided me more like a bigger brother because he was already there. I didn't know how to, you know, move around where to go, so he'd keep me out of different shit. You know what I mean? That'll blow my money and all that. He kind of gave me the basis to the game.
Right.
So, yeah, so, you know, pretty much that I'm talking about short. But a whole lot of game, man, that prepared me, you know, for what I was becoming at the time.
Right. That was my next question, man. What was it like being, you know what I'm saying, around the No Limit camp? Like, did you ever get the chance to meet Soulja Slim?
Yeah, man. Yeah, pretty much everybody. Except for when you go back to the beginning of No Limit, the King Georges and all them, you know, I was probably third, fourth generation No Limit, you know what I mean? When you're looking at the California evolution, the P coming back home, he started out there somewhat. A lot of those guys I done met in time and we became bros that he was in cahoots with. But yeah, naturally, I'll share you a Slim story. Rest in peace to Magic and Slim. Actually, Slim was supposed to be the third verse. I smoke, I drank. But ironically, yeah, me and Magic made that joint. And for a while, we ran with it. And we had just performed the 2 verses in the hook. And he was still deciding what he was going to do about the third verse. So one night, and after we clicked with each other, we'll be in the studio together outside of Shouts Out to Mo P. We'll be at Mo P studio out here recording. Magic was working on, he was coming out of his situation with No Limit and what have we, and going into Cat, coming out of Cat to something. He was, you know, between deals. So he was trying to get the right recipe to approach the executives with. And I Smoke, I Drank became that song. But in the midst of that, our chemistry was phenomenal. So we started working on a record. That's called an album, as a matter of fact, that was called Country Boys and City Slippers. Yeah, you know, and fast forward in the tape, we did that joint, ran with it. It wasn't complete, but it was other beats and stuff and that. So we ended up recording maybe about 9 to 10, if not 11 songs before he passed that's unreleased. But yeah, that was gonna be a Bleed and Magic project. But for his solo project, he was doing I Smoke, I Drank. Really, he wanted to call it Do It Big. You being from the city, I was like, nah, don't do that. That's Trill shit. That's Webby shit. You know what I mean? It don't be a Baton Rouge, New Orleans clash. Call it something else. He had told me, well, I'm already dealing with Webby and Boosie them and Trill, Turkey Mail. Shouts out to all them guys. And he ended up, you know, naming it that. So we started to run with it like that. And every show we'll do, and I'm talking about Louisiana, I don't know if we actually went to Texas, but let's say Louisiana to Alabama, Mississippi on the in-between. Before Hurricane Katrina, you know what it was like on the Gulf Coast. You got club after club. We doing 3 to 5 shows a night. We'll go perform a few songs, run down the street, scoop up some more money, stay in the town and blaze and be back home.
I'm telling you.
Every show we went to, I want to say the last time I heard this, we was in Monroe, Louisiana. We get off the stage, headline, shut it down, on our way out. MC will get on the mic. And this every show before then, I can say this the last one. But they say, next week, y'all, so the Slim come. Kept hearing that. So me and Magic get back to the city and start, continuing the recording process of that Country Boys and City Slickers. You know how they call us Country Boys, compared to the big city and Baton Rouge, or most City Slickers.
Right.
So one night, about 4, 5 in the morning, we come out to go home, go to sleep, rest up, check on the wife and kids, and be back at it by the evening time. So we come out, smoke us one for we'll part ways. And he say, man, we smoking. And he say, man, you know who I'm gonna put on that record? I say, who? He say, Soldier Slim. I say, yeah, that's who you put on that bitch. That
bitch would have been. That bitch was retarded. That bitch.
150 so. He say, yeah, tomorrow when I wake up, I'm going straight to the city and go get Slim and put Slim on that record. I say, yeah, man, as soon as y'all record that bitch, call me and let me hear it. I know I'm gonna see him, but I was that eager to hear what it sounded like. And I would get rumors, and not rumors, actual facts from the No Limit camp and other guys in the street would say, man, Slim love you. You know what I mean? He want to fuck with you and do something, but I had never met Slim. You'll hear all these horrific stories of Slim in the street. They ain't the guy you really want to approach, you ain't knowing. So the very next, before that, I say that, few weeks or so, maybe even a month or so prior to that, this after Snoop signed a No Limit. Snoop had moved to Baton Rouge for a while. I didn't know he was posted out here. So Snoop was the same, crazy, phenomenal love for me and likewise. And I get those rumors. And we had efforts to meet each other while I was in California on the weekends, but he was tied up to me. So it wouldn't be to a night in Houston that we performed with. Everybody was there. Slim was still alive. I mean, Montel Jordan was there. It was it's like 50 to 100 of us on stage, where half of us had to wait halfway back of the stage and the back of the stage, and he'll call you up when it's time to perform. So I met Snoop like that when he was sitting on the backdrop and sent his dad to come get him. So I walked in the back of the stage, and it's him and Daz. I had met Daz in California before, but I had never met Snoop face to face. It was our first meeting, and Snoop said, well, look, I'm just trying to tell you, man, I'm in your neighborhood, I'm in your backyard. So and I said I was not going to finish my record without having you on that record. I said, man, I appreciate that. And he was still calling himself Snoop Dogg Corleone at the time. So we was on the Corleone shit, you know what I mean? We ended up making a record called Family Values. You know what I mean? Family ties or family values. I think it was family values. And that never came out to this day. And, there's some talks about it being released with Beats by the Pound. I think they're going to do a documentary or something like that for briefing. But until then, but saying that to say this, I was supposed to go to Atlanta that night to do a show. But the plane tickets and all that was switched up and misconstrued. I ended up stressing out, catching a headache, you know what I mean, and all that. So Snoop called that same day to my manager, Paul, and let me hear the message. So I mustered myself together and said, man, let me go fuck with Dog. And I went over there, and the whole night, Dog was like, you all right? You know what I mean? Yeah, he could see that I wasn't, you know what I mean, really feeling too up to it. So I pushed myself through. We got the song complete. C Murder was still out. Mac was still out. All of us was in the building. They all left and went to a party. It was like, you coming? I'm like, nah, man, I'm finna go home and rest off this headache. So I told Dog, I just came to do that with you. And they left. But before I left, me and Moby, and out of everybody was real, it's real cool. So I'll still be hang around with Mo sometime, you know what I mean? While he mixing, doing whatever and shutting down the studio. So I say, Mo, I'm finna go home, man, give me some rest. He say, hold up, bleed before you leave. Slim on his way up here. That nigga love you, man. You wanna meet you. I'm gonna wait for Slim. And I did that, and he took a minute or so. So after a while, Mo come to me and say, man, you can bust out now. Slim in the parking lot. But we all go down. And I met him in the park and I grabbed and embraced each other. You see the love in each other's eyes, man. I love Slim. And like, bro, we gonna get us one in. I was like, yeah, for sure, my nigga. And bust out. It's my first and only time meeting him in life. So fast forward in the tape, Magic, the next morning, when he get up, you know, he's supposed to be in New Orleans recording Slim. So we left about 5 that morning, somewhere between 2, 4 that afternoon. I wake up to the phone ring, look at the call ID, and it's Magic. I hurry up and pop up. Hey, what's happening? He say, man, Slim dead, bro.
Dang.
Next day he got murdered that next day. So the night before he was murdered, we was planning on putting him on that record and before we can get it to him. Yeah.
Slim was supposed to get on I Smoke, I Drink.
Yeah.
God dang.
The person saying rest in peace to Soldier Slim and, you know, kind of make up the difference. You know what I mean? But that was originally supposed to be me, Magic, and Soldier Slim for the first time. My first time recording with Magic would have been my first time having the record with Slim. So that's my Slim story.
That's crazy, man. Well, I got a segment in my show, man, where I say it's time to keep it 1,000, and I'm giving free promos to anybody, any business. Just leave a comment of what you got going on, and I'm gonna shout you out. It don't take but a second to keep it a stat.
Yes, sir. That's right.
So today's shout out goes to Wildlife J Blood.
Yo, what's up, J Blood?
Okay, recording artist, songwriter, promoter. Y'all go follow at Wildlife Gang Music. That's music with a Z, I, and 2 Ks.
Yeah, that's how that go. That's top of Louisiana too. I want to say J Blood out of Shreveport, somewhere up there. What?
Monroe.
I was finna say Monroe, but I had that confused. Monroe is Shreveport up top. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I told him I was gonna shout him out.
Yeah, we've been homies for years, man. Shouts out J Blood, absolutely.
That's how they go. So eventually, I'm skipping around, bro, because your story is so epic and, you know, it's going to be long, you know what I'm saying? Especially through all the albums you got, you know what I'm saying? So I'm skipping around. So eventually you got with CeeLo, and did you sign the West Coast Mafia?
Well, somewhere around 2004, at 30 years old, you know, at the you know, my highest peak had been Balls of My Word and How You Do That. So, you know, in life, that became my Michael Jackson thrill. I'm trying to beat myself up. You know, I always said if I can go gold, I can go platinum. But I look back and say, hey, man, you was on the Body soundtrack, so platinum rock. So by the time I debuted, I went gold in 3 weeks. So you do the math between back then and now. So definitely underground platinum. It should be officially platinum somewhere. So 04, you know, I've been in Louisiana as well as yourself all my life. We know what it is here. I learned to travel and move around and go where the action at when it slow down here. So Texas always been sucking home to me on bloodline, and, you know, grandmother and everything else, aunts and cousins and uncles and that type of thing. So I always said it being the biggest state, if I got to dumb down and make a few other kind of moves to keep this shit going, if I move somewhere, I checked a few places around the country, in particular Atlanta and all that, but they was open to me as fans, but I wasn't getting a lot of feature action and different shit like that. That will come later on. But at that time, Texas, shouts out to Lava House, old man Lou over there, you know, Angelo, Big Papa, Untamed Man, you know, Shreveport. But they had a Dallas connection. So Lou would fly me out to Dallas like every week, every other week. The old ladies in Baton Rouge Airport just say, hey, baby, look, you must got family out here. I said, yes, ma'am. Because you come here every week. And like another old lady, I used to work at Popeyes back in the day. And this long before that, she used to look at me and say, baby, look, you ever get a chance to get out of Louisiana, get out of here, because ain't nothing but hard times and trouble here. And later on, those ladies in the airport told me the same thing. You coming back and forth here, you must got, you know, some family to, you know. Yeah, pretty much, you know what I mean? So, what I'm saying, Lava House, going out there, recording with Lava House, that type of thing. So I recognize, damn, man, you know, she right. I might as well, if anything, you know, what's more open to me and keep calling me back is not even Houston. You know, Houston, I had a lit action, you know, of course, and that's family, Houston. But Dallas, you know, being second city in one sense to the state, it's like Baton Rouge to New Orleans to to some degree at one time.
Right.
Wait. So I went through Dallas on a tour one time. And, you know, and one of the nights, you know, I wasn't performing. We checked out a few clubs, and shouts out that's my bros to this day, man. It's funny how things connect. But I was a fan of Mr. Pookie and Mr. Lucci. I heard Crook for Life in the club one night and just, oh shit. But when I bought the album, I bought the screw version, and it was jamming, slowed down. Then I got the rhythm and heard they had like lighter voices than how screw sound. So I started paying attention to Dallas, and that's what Lou them was bringing me back and forth. But the OGs would say, man, you know, it take a mighty crafty country boy, you know what I mean, to do this. Everybody can't uproot from Louisiana and go nowhere, but Bleed, you could do it. So while they were showing me the action, and I decided in 2004, you know what, I'm finna move to Dallas. At least go out there for 6 months, see what happened, then I'll move around. But ironically, I stayed out there 6, 7 years, because that's how busy and how much Dallas loved. I ended up catching a pistol case to stay out of trouble. I can tell you for 23 hours a day, every other day, I'm on that slab going from studio trying to book 2-hour session here, 7 to 9, 9 to 11, still being late and running to the night. And that was my action out there. Everywhere in the country was Dallas. So I stayed out there.
Working.
Had 6 months and ended up being there. But before I did that, it's 04, November 4th, 04. I remember that because I went to jail that night. But I met Sebo on the phone. Well, really before the phone, shouts out to my cousin Brent Dixon at Divided Soul. That's a super duper producer all around the world. Phenomenal artist, Chuck D to be in particular, if you know about Brent. But Brent brought me a magazine, a Murder Dog magazine, with Sebo and Yuck Mouth standing in back to back, the old Run DMC pose, advertising a Thug Lords movement and album. But I guess they asked Bo what other artists that he was interested in working in, and my name was in the tabloid. You see what I'm saying? So
come on.
Yeah, so I was a Sebo fan. You know what I mean? Long before I meet Bo, diehard Sebo fan. So when he said that, I naturally made efforts to tell my people to make efforts to get in touch with him. And they did, but Sebo was locked up at the time. So one day, you know, I'm at my crib in the parking lot, and he had his girl on a 3-way calling me from jail, saying, hey man, blase, you know, what's happening? You know, pretty much told me how it was going down with West Coast Mafia. So he liked the idea that I was on the same mob shit for his Corleone family and all that. So let's combine our forces and see what we come up with. So I actually went back out to LA, made the deal, shouts out to Tipo and Rob and Brian. That was like management or something at Priority. So a lot of my Priority constituents, we stayed friends over the years. They could, you know, shoot me a line or hit me to some shit that I need to continue with my career. They would, you know what I mean, on speed dial. So they was also doing the same kind of dealings with West Coast Mafia. So I went out there and made that deal. Bo still was in jail. The day he got out was the day, you know, and at the time we wasn't doing the email shit. You see what I'm saying? We still were telling the masters and the reals, you know what I mean? What I'm trying to say. You know, either that or a that, however we was transporting the music at the time. But the day he got out, he got that record, Rise Through the Ranks. So based on that call, when we talk, he say, hey, bro, I'm trying to do for you what Pac was trying to do for me. He say Pac called him the same way from the penitentiary. You see what I'm saying? His girl or whatever on the phone. So he tried to do that same thing, and still to this day, I just talked to Bo. He was just down here at Bellanoche a couple of weeks ago now.
Right, I did see that.
Yeah, on Mama's, you know, his family in Monroe, Louisiana. He originally, I believe, from Monroe and grew up in California, but born now, you know, at least for a few years. So we got a chance to learn and run with each other, and to this day we bros, man. So that's a beautiful thing. West Coast Mafia, what it do. I mean,
yeah. All right, we're gonna bring it back to Baton Rouge. Rest in peace, Lil Handy.
Oh yeah.
He was on that rap hustling on that down south gangsters.
Yes, sir.
So how did that situation come about, man?
Oh, I miss Handy, man. Funny when we talk about, you know, Glen Oak, South Baton Rouge, you know, our city be split in parts, you know, to anybody that's involved, but blood in, blood out. Way back when we was the camp, I knew Kino, the royal family. You see what I'm saying? So me and Kino stayed like this here over the years. But later on, when he'll come up and start his label and put BG back on and, you know, all that type of thing, when he had Life as a Mac and all that type of shit, he come back to the city and was producing Handy album. So me, him, and Handy would ride. It's a few places, one in particular place we record here off of Bluff Road. And then we'll go to New Orleans to another studio. I believe Kino was living in New Orleans or something at the time. We'll come down here in the 2-seat Lexus sports coupe, and they had a little white bucket. We smoked, you know, Kino ain't smoking, do that. So I hop in the bucket with Handy. Spent a lot of time, and we'll ride all the way to New Orleans. Because me and Kino was working on an album at the time called Capers that we never put out. You know what I mean? So every now and again, it's over time. He done produced on my Living album, the very Majority Rules, if you hip to that, but Kino produced that. So over time, it's phenomenal success. I mean, you name him, Jay-Z, Kanye, Nicki, you know what I mean? He really became a big fish, and a lot of places farther than me, and rubbing shoulders with other guys I got yet to meet. So shouts out to Kino.
Hell yeah, I'm trying to get him on the show.
Okay, yeah, I hadn't talked to him in a few years now since I was living upstate, maybe Detroit or something like that. We worked on a few records that I sent to him, and he was working on a new Nicki Minaj record at the time. I think he did with the Keys in the Trap. You know what I mean? So yeah, that Kino. So my God, I'm trying to catch up with him myself, and if I could catch him before you do, I'll let you know something. You do the vice versa for me. Let him know I'm looking for him.
Hell yeah, 1,000.
Yes, sir. But that's how me and Handy became partners, knew each other through Kino. And then I left and was out of town, I believe, when the album came out or something, when he had that car wreck. I got the news. I hated to hear that. Florida Boulevard, I knew it that specific.
That shit was crazy, man. So y'all got more than one record together?
Probably, you know, throughout that Capers record. Because we was working on both of those albums at the same time. He'd take Handy to record his album, and Handy put me on that one joint. Yeah, we was doing Capers, so I'm sure Kino got something that us three on. You know, we at least 3 records, you know what I mean? But that's all, it'll just be me, him, Handy, and whoever the engineer was in the studio. So right there, we all collectivized. Yeah, working. So,
that's how that go. Rest in peace, Lil Handy.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Absolutely.
So you got your own situation now, Trapdoor Entertainment.
Yeah.
Are you looking for artists?
Well, actually, you know, all the time, in one sense of the word, I'm right now about 20 plus deep across the country. Deep. Yeah, 22 or better artists throughout the country. That's independent freelancers, guys that I met along the way at the shows opening up for me that I love their act. And, you know, we became partners and started working together. So I'm getting ready to release a compilation about a month or so called Welcome to the Trap. That's gonna highcase some of those artists and different things like that. And we done put records out over the last few years. The Younger Gang, Sam Two-Turn, my son Taj Ramon, and who else I'm missing? It's a few other records that I done put out. I can't think of everybody at the time, but it's a lot of artists. Shouts out to Jizzle, man, Alabama, and them different sections. I used to always say if I knew one person in each state, I could find my way around the country. But I've been blessed to be 4 cities deep in some states, 10 cities deep in other states. You know what I mean? So, you know, God being a guide, man, I saw my way around and been able to pick from all but an infinite tree of artists, you know what I mean? From the country and then throughout the world. Yeah.
Right.
Keep a light on.
So, rap, they calling it like the most dangerous job, man. Right now.
Yeah.
So, why do you think when people make it in the rap game, they can't detach themselves from the streets? Like speaking on the Young Thug case.
Oh, it goes both ways. Some of us can't detach ourselves from the streets, that beard in the street, and if that's all you know, you can't just turn overnight, just walk and put on a suit and tie and act like you ain't come from this neighborhood. You wasn't involved in certain things. But the streets that wasn't attached to us, other than your environment and who you're around, and that's always a problem in the neighborhood, brothers, you name it. But they become more attacked and we become a target. And the more you have to go back in these areas, you start to look like bread and meat, man. You know, it's worse than what it was. You know, we talking 70s and 80s like it was just starting. I
Right.
come from the beginning, so right after the beginning, and now it's all but at its peak. Now, you know what it is with our city. I go to Chirac, you know what I mean? I lived in Detroit, you know, I watched Compton, you know, Oakland, you name them,
Yeah.
Inglewood, all over the country because we come from these places. So naturally, your whole connection is 6 degrees of separation. It ain't what you know, it's who you know. And if you spitting reality rap, gangster rap, or whatever, you can't do that from the suburbs. You know what I mean? Yeah, you know, you got to go back and stay in touch. But it's dangerous when you got guys like Nip Hustle that been hustling out the same parking lot since 5 years old, the same circle of people killing.
Yeah.
I mean, where are we going? You know, we could have kept the street shit in the street. Like Pop said, yeah, start killing.
Far as traveling though, you think it's best to check in? Like people look at that like a weak move. Like,
well, my thing is this: if I know you, I'ma holler at you. Other than that, nigga, I'm a grown ass man. Check in with who? Eat a dick records, man. You see what I'm saying? That's bully shit to me. I ain't never like bully niggas. I always been a skinny nigga.
Right.
Play up if you want to, and I'm gonna let the air out you, man.
It shouldn't be like that though, bro.
Now, you see what I'm saying though?
Shit crazy, bro.
I'm attached to you because of the bag. Now everybody want to get in, extort you and do it. Man, get the fuck out of here before you get murdered out in this bitch, man. Everybody ain't playing. Don't fuck with them suckers, man. Yeah, you see what I'm saying? Black Lives Matter. And it start with us. So I say that, man.
It start with us for real.
Man, when I check in, bitch, who is you? I don't know you, nigga. The fuck you mean? Where you get that from? Your daddy was a pussy, your mama was a bitch to teach you that mentality, nigga. But that's a slave master mentality. That's oppressed. You want to keep a foot on my neck. For what, faggot? Get your bitch ass out of here, man. Go do that with the niggas you do it with. If I ain't grew in your circle like that and took some oath, get the fuck out of here, man. Yeah, go home with that pussy ass shit for you don't go home, man. Yeah, so that's how I feel about that. But check
real talk, though.
Fuck is you, man? Yeah, I don't check in with my mom and daddy like that. My grandparents ain't here no more. Nigga, I've been grown a long time.
It's most definitely, bro.
Me right, don't prove me at all. You see what I'm saying? And
right.
The same demand the same respect anywhere. I don't like all what's taking place nowadays and these excuses for these false ass, fuck ass mercy killings, man. Yeah, that sucker shit, man. Keep the sucker shit, man.
Yeah, that shit crazy, bro. It shouldn't be like that, bro. And then that's the same people that are scream Black Lives Matter. But you making a nigga check in.
We our worst enemy. You see what I'm saying? We our worst enemy, my brother. And before we get to the police, before we get to the hoes as black men, and no disrespect women. You see what I'm saying? I'm gonna say it like that. But we dealing with all this coming from a street hood, dope fiends and junkies, prostitutes, anything goes. And you make it out that environment, and everybody should salute you. You see what I'm saying? For the struggle.
Right. That's how it's supposed to go.
I would never thought niggas would have shot me. I got robbed in Dallas. I just finished telling you a story where I lived second home. I didn't know the guys that robbed me, but I walked into their circle at the time. I got robbed at Greyhound. But these guys robbing everybody that come through look like tourists. They watching me from our defense. I knew the neighborhoods, ran through the church and the streets and the neighborhoods, you know, where I got some of the guys that robbed me. You know what I mean? I kept it gully. You know, of course, you know, we don't talk to no police. But what I did, I wanted my music back. They took my computer on the Warren G shit. They took my ring. They took my Rolex, man. I looked at them niggas and say, damn,
what's next? Yeah.
And my money and my cell phones in my pocket like suckers. They went to my back pocket and got my wallet. I don't keep no, come on, I'm a mobster, man. I don't keep no motherfucking money.
Right.
So, but you in a bad way, but trying to be unity in the community. I'm out there sharing a drink or smoke while I'm waiting for a ride. And my own black brothers robbed me with no gun. The only little roughness they did was two guys grabbed me to grab my wallet. But other than that, they ain't touched me. I walked away, but when we were smoking, they slipped some K2 on.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and I hit that shit like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
So never kryptonite, man. Now they ain't got to pull a gun. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah, so that kind of shit, 7-10 deep, or however the case might have been, it was more than me. And like in the other man, yeah, you want to do something, but you know, man, I throw this right hook.
Yeah.
I'm really going to kill me. Let me get the fuck out of here with my life, man. Yeah. So that kind of shit, I know that personally. And thank God, when we look back at Pop, Nip, and you name them, man.
Right.
You know,
Losing rappers to shootings. Now we losing rappers to overdoses, man. Gangsta Boo recently. Big Scar.
Yes, sir.
What's going on with this, man?
That's the question I'm finna ask you. What part of the game is that? Because we ain't creating none of this shit that's killing us, not even the guns. So what part of conspiracy and it get that accessible to the neighborhood, to the families, to the kids?
Right.
Who bringing this shit over here? See, we've been saying this is so fucking repetitive. Niggas don't own planes nowadays. But back in the days, we ain't on no planes. All this shit, to bring it from across the bush, shit don't grow here like that. You gotta grow you some weed. When you talking coca lead and poppy fields and all, come on, man.
It's fentanyl.
Let's not even talk about that now. You see what I'm saying? It's a higher power. And they shit on the ghetto and shit in the ghetto. You know what I mean? That's why it's ragged, it's fucked up. You fuck up the mind, the head set of a person, the body fall, man. You see what I'm saying? So what part of outer structure into the infrastructure is that? You know, our true enemy got yet to show his face when we blame each other. I got beat by the police out here when I first started coming up, right in 97, 98. Bloody face, stunt broad day in front of church, traffic. Ain't nobody said did a mother. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So when it comes down to it, yeah, who sent y'all with me? I don't know y'all, man. I ain't never had a run-in. I had my run-ins, but not with y'all. You see what I'm saying? That's a whole nother story. But shit like that, I'm speaking from a personal standpoint, trying to be that peace and unity in the community. You know, I keep two hands, like the Masters of Capone used to say. Just to shake your hand, hey, bro, peace and love. But I keep a gun in my other pocket just in case this shit don't go right. Niggas like it don't kill you where I come from.
That's how that go. Yeah,
the world we in, man, that's demonic. Anything that's ungodly and negative, man, it should be a separate charge. Like Christ say, you can't be lukewarm. You hot or you cold. What side are you on? I can insinuate on that. It's not about niggas, bitches, riders, and you know what I mean? Yeah. What side are you on? Where are you at with your heart, your life? You know what I mean? And your God, if any. We got atheists in the world. Some people don't believe he exists. So you got that constant confrontation. That's a war that started from the heavens that we still dealing with on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, man, that shit crazy, bro.
You know, Ice-T said it the best. Our war won't end till our war cease, man.
That's some real talk, though.
Yeah. All right.
So with the Young Thug case and the video showing Gunna doing what he doing,
yeah,
and the other members taking pleas, how you think that situation gonna turn out for Thug? You know, I know, you know, it's all up to God. Yeah. But how does it look to you?
I mean, from what I'm getting statistics, and I hadn't been sticking my head into the tabloid part of, because I got a real near dear close street brother of mine from another state over that's real good with Thug and his family, his dad and all that. So I've been, you know, I get a little bit of the inside for what the TV think and address it. That ain't his character. That ain't the thing at all. You know, Flip Wilson wore a dress, Richard Pryor, you name it. If you could deal with that, still hold your chest up as a man and get you some money. You know, I ain't with none of that kind of, you know, homophobic looking type of shit. That ain't my thing. But mine is the artist. You know, as a human being, as a man, a supposedly alleged gang member. I never met Young Thug, so I ain't gonna speak on him in depth like that. I wish the best for the young brother, and based on my family ties and the brother that let me know, okay, this was up really with him. Okay, he one of the guys. Okay, so that part, just like anything else, we watched the same, all but different situation with Tekashi recently, but without the rat shit. You know, it looked like he maintained his composure, but what difference that gonna make? When you talking RICO law and you know what I mean, and all that type of shit, it's
deep.
It's a set up domino effect. You see what I'm saying? They want the big fish, but if all this got to get Nicky Barnes and all that shit on down,
yeah,
that's the game that people been playing with us. They just waiting for you to fall into the trap. You know what I mean? And then they trying to scoop it all up. You don't just go fish for one fish. You know what I mean? Teach a man to fish, he can fish for himself, and he gonna fish every day just to eat. So when you look at that, I hate to see the click clack, you know, and that's a normal thing for us. A lot of these guys are people, period. World's greatest criminal. If you're gonna go do something, we think about, I'm gonna just run in and grab the money. You don't think about that second, what you're gonna do after. What's the escape route? You see what I'm saying?
So what's next for Young Bleed, man? I know you got the documentary coming.
Yeah,
What
definitely. Shouts
what you
out to
got coming?
Frog, Picture Perfect Studios. Yeah, like you said, a documentary, soundtrack to the documentary. You know, extra busy over here. The Welcome to the Trap compilation, and we pretty much go trickle down from that, man, throughout the year. So you know, I got team, family, and squad. So you know, everybody working. So you know, expect the unexpected, but stay tuned. But yeah, for starters, yeah, get ready for that documentary, Baton Rouge story, Young Bleed. Um, and Welcome to the Trap. You know what I mean? First record off of Trap Door Entertainment this year. Then artist, man. So yeah, I'm you know, my cup running dope over here, man. So I gotta do something with all this music and all these people that's working. So yeah, we full throttle, man. Jumping it off. But let me add this to it. What I do too, man, that we didn't mention. Um, I'm a part of a podcast broadcast station, if we could say that, worldwide. Shouts out to High Risk and Southern Bell out there in H-Town, man. It's called Banging 832 Radio. Um, in particular, I'm a co-host over there every Tuesday and Thursday night. You know, we run 7 days a week. You know what I mean?
Y'all make sure y'all go check out that, man.
Yeah, so, you know, banging 832radio.com. So I'm on, you know, Central Time, 6 o'clock every Tuesday and Thursday. Central being the Gulf Coast. On the West Coast, that's like 4 p.m. y'all, and Eastern Time, 7 o'clock. You know what I mean? So every Tuesday and Thursday, but feel free to listen from Sunday to Sunday, man. We're gonna keep it banging 832. Yeah.
That's how that go. So if an artist wanted to try to get with Trapdoor, how they get in touch with you, man? How they got to send a demo or?
Yeah, of course that. But first thing first, you know, reach out, either know somebody, or you know, the way it is now. It's so direct, indirect. You know, I'm on the Instagram, man, at the Real Young Bleed, Twitter at Real Young Bleed, Facebook, the Young Bleed fan page, and you know, TikTok, maybe that's Young Bleed, you know what I'm saying? But you know, me, man, Google me, man. There's more ways than one. The label website is trapdoent.com. So anyway, reach out to me, man. You know, I'm an open ear and an open book to some things. So I listen, you know what I mean? And if I like something, man, we could talk about something. Good nature, good spirit, maybe we could work on something else. So I'm about that, getting along with people first. And if we can get along and ride in the car together, me and CeeLo used to ride like this. You don't say shit too much to me. I don't say too much, you know, we'll talk to each other when we have to. But you know, yeah, if you focus out this here, yeah, man, we can come together. That's how me and him made a lot of records. Just go to the studio. He knew how to run Pro Tools and all that kind of shit. Well, for I did, and it was just, you know, one-on-one. Yeah, he could record, and it'd just be me and him in some studios we had access to. Yeah,
nice.
Kind of shit. Yeah, reach out and touch somebody, man. We out here. You know what I mean?
That's how that go. Well, I always end all my shows with any advice for the kids, bro. And when I say kids, I'm talking about the ones off the poach, really. You know, but we can start from the young, you know, the 8 to 9 years old, 10, because it's early. You know, you got to get them early. But I'm talking about the ones that's out there like they lost, bro. Especially.
I go way that man. You know, I'm on grandbabies, man. I say I got 4 sons and 4 daughters, and in this way, I have 5, you know, personal children for me. And my youngest, the rest of my kids is, you know, 30, 31, 25, and 24, and I have a baby boy that's exactly that age, 7 right now. But my whole day-to-day process, you know, from homeschooling him to musically schooling him and just life schooling and God schooling him. That's my every day I wake up to right now as we speak. You know what I mean? I get in together and I get into my time. But speaking from my youth into that on up into these teenagers just hopping out the poach, yeah, man, y'all consider that. I used to say this: if we greet, we greet each other, you know, like me, you say, hey, but nice to meet you, my brother, nice to meet you. It's a beautiful thing, good vibe. We looking at God life and eternal life. Ain't nothing negative there. But in the world we live in, one day there's gonna come a time of pass. Choose your weapon. You can leave now, or you can wait till later, man. So I tell everybody that, look, bro, Well, I used to say this. If we greeted each other like this, hey, my brother, how you doing? You know you're gonna die one day. You might take your life a little bit more serious. You see what I'm saying? You ain't got time to be mad. You ain't got time. You know, shit happen. We all have emotions. We human.
Right.
But you have to learn the way to train your thought to positiveness and godliness, to stay out, to have a chance to stay out here, as well as God breath, fresh air and life throughout. I need to suck it right back out that fast, man. Ain't no one man boy the crew. There is a God. My new album. If everybody hadn't picked that up, y'all go check that out. That was inspired by the COVID time. I heard all the rocket scientists and doctors, and nobody could come up with an ounce. I say, well, the one thing they ain't missing, they forget is this God, man. I'll show you that from the first cover all the way to this cover. So I'm still on my God. You see what I'm saying? So I tell everybody that life start there. Without no God, it's nothing. So whatever you decide to do, man, talk to your pop. And maybe it's the right thing to do, maybe it's the wrong thing. But you can't say at the end of life, going into death, that we all didn't have a chance, a talent, or some voice in your head that told you. You see what I'm saying? I'm speaking from myself. Should have. You see what I'm saying? But as well as a boy to a man, you know what I mean? A baby to a dog, male and female. You have to get in order with that. Be in order with yourself, in order with God. So you could be in agreement with God. God could be in agreement with you. That's unity. He with the good shit all day.
All day.
You ain't with the bullshit, man. Yeah, you either hot or you cold. Back to the Christ and the Christism. So I try to install that, and the more I get spiritually aware and come into more wisdom just growing, I try to get that back. Old people still here. You know, I used to have an old timer. That was my manager and was world renowned, Mr. Harry J. Coon, that put Levert in the game. Look at the unsung episode about Gerald Levert, Uncle Harry. That was all Uncle Harry. The Harry, I learned recently within a year or so that he passed away. He was my hands-on manager for a while. But he used to say this, 80th birthday, 81, 82, 83. Hey, you know, happy birthday, old time. He say, oh, nigga, shit, I'm aged. Age and get that old shit in your head. So don't, you know, we have to tell a young eye, I say, bro, if you don't know where you come from, you don't know where you at, you know the fuck you going. Like Willie D said, that's the blind leading the motherfucking blind, man. The fuck you gonna tell me anything? Why I gotta check in and talk? Where are we going with this, man? Right. Show me something I ain't saw my that ain't deaf and despair and all that other bullshit. If you ain't talking about that, boy, you ain't talking about nothing. Get your punk ass somewhere. Yeah, you ain't got to go home, but you got to get the fuck from around here, nigga. Yeah. So that part, you know, stay respectable, keep God first in whatever you do, and learn your life, learn your purpose in life, man. Instead of a bunch of bullshit, you know, what we used to call crash test dummies. Let a nigga put a battery in your back from the streets to the pen. Thank for your motherfucking self. Learn to be a leader. And respect the respectable. Motherfucker respect you, respect them. But any form of disrespect, man, get the fuck out of here, please. Yeah, that part. So much love. Yeah, God, life, peace, and happiness and respect, man. It's all about that. Our old timers always told me that. They're going to carry you a long way. You know, they say true players leave a positive impression. You can tell when it's something about that nigga, man. He can't come back around you. That nigga, that's my nigga. It's a feeling you get invisible. And that's the spirit of God. You know what I mean? When you're trying to live and be righteous. Not perfect. Perfect, just a word. Your shirt you got on, that might be perfect for you. I'm down there matching you. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's my brand right here.
Yeah. But like Michael Jackson said, it don't matter if you're black and white, man. Jimi Hendrix say this, I'm not black or white. I'm a member of the universe, man. We all remember the same universe, multiverse. So learn your connection with God, your connection with yourself. You see what I'm saying? Then you can learn everybody else. We don't look exactly the same, but we go through the same encounter. Same shit, different thought, man.
Hell yeah.
Like they said, ain't but one race, the human race, man. Yeah.
Real talk, man.
Yeah, so stay prayed
up.
I
gotta do something, man. I be seeing, man, 2, 3 a night, every night. I be tapping in back with Baton Rouge. You know, I moved out the city, but it just be ridiculous, bro. Every day.
You already know mothers, grandmas, baby, niggas throwing babies off of bridges out here.
And shooting baby.
Yeah, shooting babies, all that shit, you know.
Drive-by.
Yeah, all that shit. You know, just any grandmothers, anybody, aunties, mamas, this shit ain't safe, you know, and the places you that look safe and, you know, in that sense of word. It's just so much, you know, that's a whole other chapter for me and you alone just talking the city.
Right.
So anywhere else you can imagine it's the same. Like Prince used to say, man, he said, man, we'll go to school early in the morning and everybody having a good time. You see, by recess, everybody frowned up. We was talking chemtrails and what might be in the air. It changed your mode. If you don't know negativity, if you're not being taught that, you don't. Now that I know what I know now, I wish I was the nerd in school. You know, I never felt the grade. I did good enough, you know, and then graduated with a good enough diploma. I went to the 12th grade twice and was getting out of school at 11 in the morning, but they was fucking around with my credits. I went to summer school to correct them, and there's something wasn't right with the staffing. So eventually, you know, I just got a GED and called it quits. But yeah, you know, straight
the
through
nerds
school,
end up winning.
You know?
All the nerds end up winning. I'm telling. I say that all the nerds in school end up winning.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
about knowing something. Yeah, you got to have a head on your shoulder. If you just going at the body, and you ever saw a dead body running with no head, you got to put a blanket on the land now. Your chicken with his head, he just gone. You got to think, man. Become a thinker. And the only way I had this, and I'm going to leave you at this one, watching this Nikola Tesla documentary the other day. They say, you know, we know about Albert Einstein, but some people do and some people don't know about Nikola Tesla. We got a Tesla car in 2023 and before then. But they said they asked Einstein a long time ago, hey, man, how does it feel to be the smartest man in the world? Einstein say, shit, I don't know. Ask Nikola Tesla. You see what I'm saying? But he was describing before he went to sleep, he said God talked to him in a sense. He said, your brain is just a muscle that tell your body what to do. Your thoughts and your ideas don't come from you thinking. They come from a higher power that's like the main source for the whole entire Wi-Fi system. We just the cause in that sense. But what's the circuit that run us? Yeah, God is that. So he gave me a, you know, same but different way to look at it. He'll put his notebook on the side of the bed at night. My mother used to tell me this young. You know, your thoughts and ideas and inspiration come out of, you know, dreams and visions and different things like that. You know, a phenomenal story that go back. But I learned to do that. I keep a studio with me because, well, in the middle of the night, you'll wake up and, oh, shit, you ain't prepared some of your best shit. You done just let you was too lazy to get up and catch. You know what I mean? So, but he says something, write some shit on his notebook. Rather, he mentally saw this in his head and he could draw it back like a picture. You know what I'm saying? And he'd get up straight to his lab and get busy. And came up with some of the greatest technology from the radio, you name it. We had any for people that's not up on Nikola Tesla, do your homework. Man, he tried to help make the world a better place for us, not pay electric bill and all that, and figure out how to live off the basic essentials of the earth and being in touch with the Most High, man. So that's the whole thing to everything. That's what I mean.
Real talk. Young Bleed in the building, man. Salute you for coming on the show.
Absolutely, I appreciate that.
We just kept it a stack. We chopped it up.
Man.
This is the Keep It 1000 podcast. Y'all stay tuned to the next episode. Salute. Be out.
Here you go. Bang with the camera. Boy, that camera, that boy bang.